For years, Spirit Airlines was impossible to ignore. Bright yellow planes, ultra-cheap tickets, random fees for almost everything, and a reputation that made it one of the most controversial airlines in America. Some travelers loved Spirit because it made flying affordable. Others absolutely hated the experience. But in 2026, everything changed. After years of financial struggles, failed merger attempts, rising debt, and skyrocketing fuel costs, Spirit Airlines collapsed and shut down operations entirely. Flights stopped, employees were laid off, airports were suddenly filled with abandoned yellow jets, and now one giant question remains. What happens to all those airplanes? Where are Spirit's planes today? Who owns them now? Will they ever fly again? Or are they just sitting abandoned in the desert? This is the full story of what happened to Spirit Airlines, and where all of their aircraft are now. The rise of Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines actually started decades ago. The company traces its roots back to the 1960s, but it officially became Spirit Airlines in the early 1990s. At first, it was just another small airline in the United States. But eventually, Spirit discovered something powerful. People would tolerate almost anything if the ticket price was cheap enough. That became Spirit's entire business model. Instead of offering comfort, Spirit focused on one thing: being cheaper than everyone else. The airline removed nearly every free feature passengers expected. Carry-on bag, extra charge; seat selection, extra charge; snacks, extra charge; printed boarding pass, sometimes even that cost money. Spirit became famous for what the industry calls the ultra-low-cost carrier model. And financially, it worked. For years, Spirit expanded rapidly across the United States, the Caribbean, and Latin America. The airline packed more seats into planes than most competitors and operated an all-Airbus fleet to simplify maintenance and training. By the mid-2020s, Spirit had become one of the largest ultra-low-cost airlines in America. But underneath the growth, major problems were building. Why Spirit started collapsing? The airline industry is brutal. Fuel prices change constantly. Aircraft are expensive, competition is intense, and profit margins are razor-thin. Spirit's business model only worked when everything stayed efficient, but then several disasters hit at once. First, engine problems. Many of Spirit's newer Airbus A320neo aircraft used Pratt & Whitney GTF engines, which became infamous across the aviation industry for maintenance and reliability problems. Dozens of aircraft had to be grounded for inspections and repairs. That meant Spirit suddenly had fewer airplanes available to fly routes. Then came rising operating costs. Inflation hit airlines hard, fuel prices surged, travel demand became unpredictable. At the same time, Spirit was carrying billions of dollars in debt. The airline tried to save itself through mergers. First, Frontier Airlines attempted to merge with Spirit. Then JetBlue tried to buy the company in a massive deal, but regulators blocked the JetBlue merger, arguing it would reduce competition and raise ticket prices. That failed merger became one of the biggest turning points in Spirit's history, because without that buyout money, Spirit suddenly had very few options left. The company filed for bankruptcy protection multiple times while desperately trying to restructure. For a while, it looked like Spirit might survive, but then things got even worse. The final shutdown. In May 2026, Spirit Airlines officially stopped flying. Flights were canceled almost immediately. Passengers showed up at airports only to discover their flights no longer existed. Spirit kiosks were shut down, employees lost jobs, and airports across America were suddenly filled with parked yellow aircraft. According to reports, more than 90 aircraft were stranded across dozens of airports when operations ended. It was one of the most dramatic airline collapses in recent U.S. aviation history, and the shutdown caused chaos. Some smaller airports depended heavily on Spirit service. One airport in Pennsylvania reportedly lost all commercial flights overnight because Spirit was their only airline. But while passengers were scrambling to find new flights, another massive operation had already begun behind the scenes: the repossession of the airplanes. Who actually owns the planes? Here's something many people don't realize. Most airlines do not fully own their aircraft. Instead, many planes are leased. Think of it like renting a car, except the car costs over $100 million. Spirit Airlines had a large number of leased Airbus aircraft, so when the airline collapsed, leasing companies immediately moved to reclaim those jets. That's when aviation repossession teams entered the picture. Yes, aircraft repo teams are real. Specialized companies were hired to recover Spirit's planes from airports all over the country. Former Spirit pilots were even recruited to fly some of the aircraft away one final time. But these weren't passenger flights anymore. They were called ferry flights. No passengers, no service, just pilots transporting aircraft to storage facilities. And most of those planes were headed to one place: The Arizona desert. Why the planes are going to Arizona? Arizona is one of the most important aircraft storage locations in the world. The dry desert climate is perfect for preserving airplanes. Low humidity helps prevent corrosion. There's plenty of open space, and maintenance crews can easily access stored aircraft. That's why many retired or repossessed airplanes end up there. After Spirit shut down, multiple aircraft were flown to storage facilities in Arizona, including Phoenix Goodyear Airport. Some jets were parked temporarily, others were prepared for repossession inspections, and some may never fly again. Rows of yellow Airbus aircraft suddenly appeared parked in the desert sun. For former employees, it was emotional. Pilots described these ferry flights as closure for the airline because they knew they were probably flying those aircraft for the last time under the Spirit name. What happens to the aircraft now? This is where things get interesting. Not every Spirit plane will have the same future. Some aircraft will likely return to service with entirely different airlines. Others may be dismantled for parts, and some could remain parked for years. Let's break it down. 1. Some planes will fly for other airlines. The Airbus A320 family is one of the most popular aircraft types in the world. Airlines everywhere want these jets, and right now, there's a massive shortage of available aircraft globally. That means Spirit's planes are valuable, especially the newer Airbus A320neo and A321neo aircraft. Many of these jets will probably be repainted, reconfigured, and leased to other airlines around the world. Eventually, passengers may unknowingly fly on a former Spirit plane operating for a completely different airline. The bright yellow paint will disappear, the seats may change, but underneath it's still the same aircraft. This happens constantly in aviation. Planes often outlive the airlines that once operated them. 2. Some planes will be parted out. Not every aircraft is worth returning to service. Some Spirit aircraft are more valuable as spare parts, and right now aircraft parts are in extremely high demand, especially engines. Spirit's grounded Airbus Neo aircraft used Pratt & Whitney GTF engines, the same engines many airlines around the world desperately need because of ongoing maintenance shortages. As a result, some aircraft are already being dismantled. Engines, landing gear, auxiliary power units, avionics. These parts can be removed and sold individually for huge amounts of money. In some cases, the engines themselves may be worth more than the aircraft. That's why several reports say leasing companies are prioritizing engine recovery first. So even though Spirit Airlines is gone, parts of its fleet may continue flying for decades inside other aircraft. 3. Some aircraft could sit unused for years. Not every plane gets an immediate new home. Some jets may remain parked in storage facilities for a very long time. Airlines only take aircraft if the economics make sense. If maintenance costs are too high, or if demand slows, certain planes could remain inactive indefinitely. This has happened before with other bankrupt airlines. Sometimes aircraft sit parked for years before finally being scrapped or sold. And because Spirit had such a large fleet, the market may take time to absorb all those planes. The final Spirit fleet. At the time operations ended, Spirit Airlines operated an all-Airbus fleet. The airline mainly flew Airbus A320s, Airbus A320neos, Airbus A321s, Airbus A321neos. In total, the airline had well over 100 aircraft still connected to the company during its final days. For years, those yellow jets became one of the most recognizable sights in American aviation. Now many of them sit grounded, silent, parked, waiting for their next owner. Could Spirit ever come back? Technically, anything is possible. There have even been online campaigns and crowdfunding attempts trying to revive Spirit Airlines, but aviation experts say a true comeback is extremely unlikely. The airline's debts were massive, its assets are already being liquidated, and many aircraft are being reclaimed by lessors. Once an airline reaches this stage, revival becomes incredibly difficult. More likely, Spirit's legacy will survive through its aircraft and through the ultra-low-cost model it helped popularize. Because even though people joked about Spirit constantly, the airline changed travel forever. It made flying affordable for millions of people who otherwise couldn't travel. And now its aircraft are beginning a strange second life, scattered across storage facilities, maintenance hangars, scrapyards, and eventually other airlines around the world. Outro. The next time you board an Airbus A320 somewhere in the world, there's a chance it once flew for Spirit Airlines. Maybe it used to wear bright yellow paint. Maybe it once charged passengers for carry-on bags. Maybe it spent months abandoned in the Arizona desert after the airline collapsed. But in aviation, airplanes rarely die with the airline itself. They get repainted, reused, rebuilt, and sent back into the skies. Spirit Airlines may be gone, but its planes are still out there. And for many of them, their story is only just beginning.